Yeah. Good morning. We'll start with dimensionality reduction topic today. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this topic is basically a pre-processing technique prior to classification. Okay. So as the name, dimensionality reduction means it reduces the number of features that are used for classification purpose. Okay. So when you say dimension, it actually represents the number of features. For example, if you have a length and width for performing classification, then you will use length on one axis and width on another axis for performing classification. Suppose if you have more number of features, then the dimensions increase. So by dimension, it means the representation of the data Cartesian coordinate representation system. Okay, if you have say height or width or weight, then you will have one more dimension z. So in that case, you will have dimension space. Suppose if it is length and width, you will be representing like this. Right? In a 3-dimension space, you will be representing. So when the number of features increases, the dimensions increases. Okay. So what is the reason for reducing this dimension? When the number of features increase, it doesn't gives good results. Instead, the accuracy sometimes may reduce because we will be having some unnecessary or irrelevant or redundant features in the data set, which is trying to pull down the accuracy. So we have to remove the irrelevant features or the features that are not contributing much to the classification accuracy. Okay, so that process is called as a dimensionality reduction. So there are different methods of dimensionality reduction: principal component analysis, factor analysis, independent component analysis, linear discriminant analysis, and generalized discriminant analysis. Out of all this, we are going to discuss only the first one, the PCA, and this is an unsupervised learning technique. And earlier we have discussed LDA, but that we discussed with reference to classification and not dimensionality reduction, but that can be used for dimensionality reduction. Or LDA is a supervised learning technique, whereas PCA is an unsupervised technique. So what is curse of dimensionality? That means when the number of features, so when you say features, suppose my features are represented in a table like this: feature 1, say length; feature 2, width; then weight, color, texture. Likewise, I have so many features, and then I will have so many records, data sets in this. So each one is representing one feature. Each column represents one feature. So if I have more number of columns, then it becomes slow and difficult to find the solution, and also the accuracy can't be very great. So that that is called as a curse of dimensionality. So what we are trying to do in dimensionality reduction is, suppose if I have 5 features, then out of 5 features, what I will do is, it is not like out of 5 I will randomly choose any 3, or I will eliminate 2 and choose first 3. No, it is not like that. In dimensionality reduction, what we do is, suppose from totally there are 5 features, but finally when I reduce, if I have 3 features, what it means is the entire 5 features, all the 5 features are put together in some representation, and it is given in 3 columns, in 3 features. Okay, that means the contribution of all 5 features will be present in the 3 features. Okay, that means the entire data will be transformed into a reduced data set. Okay, it is not just eliminating two or any two which are required just by glancing through or performing by some test. No, it is not like that. The entire 5 features are transformed into a reduced data set. So that is what it is, and in that way it helps in data compression because it reduces the storage space, and since the number of features are reduced, it reduces the computation time, and also it helps redundant features. Sometimes same feature we will be giving in multiple feature names, so that will be removed. And better visualization means, as I said, if you have 2-dimension, it is easy to visualize, whereas if it is 3-dimension, you will have one more axis, and in the feature space it will be represented in 3 dimensions. So rather than 3, it is better to represent in 2, which is easy for us to visualize. Likewise, when you have higher dimensions, it is easy to visualize in a lower dimension space. So these are the advantages, and of course there are some disadvantages also. This may lead to some amount of data loss. That means because we are reducing from 5 to 3, some features that are irrelevant or which are not contributing much will be removed. So some data loss will be happening. When you try to perform the reverse transformation from 3, once again, if you try to get back your original data, there will be some loss. And this PCA tends to find linear correlation between variables, which is sometimes not desirable. And also it will fail in cases where mean and covariance are not enough. Actually, this PCA technique is a statistical approach. It uses only mainly mean and covariance, the standard deviation, etc. Those are not sufficient, then this PCA can fail miserably. And then we have to decide how many features we need. Okay, so some thumb rule we have to apply. Suppose if I want 4 features, I can have 4 features. If I want 5 features, then I can have 5. So it depends on how many number of features I have to retain, that we have to decide. So basically there is no standard rules, we have to decide. So it is a statistical procedure, and it uses orthogonal transformation to convert a set of observations. These terms are new. We will be discussing and also about principal components and uncorrelated. All these terms we will be discussing slowly when we move into the approach. Suppose if I use a technique for an algorithm for facial features classification or face recognition of a person, what are the features that I will be looking into to differentiate people from the face? Can someone tell? Eyes, eyebrows, hair, skin color, etc. Isn't it? So compared to hair color or compared to length or whatever it is, we mainly go for the iris, and then eyebrows, etc. So those important features are called as principal components. By principal component, it means the foremost important feature of a data set. Okay, and then this transformation procedure, we call this PCA as transformation procedure because it converts the higher dimension features into a low dimension, and we are not just ignoring the other dimensions, we are converting the entire dimension data into a lower dimension. So it is called as a transformation, and it is also called as an orthogonal transformation because these principal components are, suppose if I take this as a principal component and another principal component, these two principal component will be perpendicular to each other. Okay, So what is meant by this principal component? Say this is principal component 1. That means the eye features after if I plot the eye features, it can be like this. Say the eyebrow features, if I plot, it can be like this. Okay. Fine. Suppose if I have one more feature, say the skin texture feature, that will be perpendicular to the other two. Okay. So we'll discuss involved in the PCA. These are the standard steps. The first one is standardize the data set. So by standardize the data set, it is actually referring to we have to find the mean and standard deviation. Suppose if I have mean as, then we have to subtract for every feature, every element value, we have to subtract the mean. We have to remove the mean so that the sum of the elements when you add the it is actually called as zero mean data, and this should be divided by the standard deviation. Okay, so the data set means x minus mu by sigma. Okay, so this is called the standardizing data set. That means for every element we have to subtract the mean and divide by the deviation. Okay. Then calculate the covariance matrix for the features in the data set. So we will be discussing how to find the covariance matrix. Basically, we are going to find the relationship between the elements, the features, how the features are related. So based on that only the covariance will be calculated. And we have to calculate vectors and eigenvalues. These are very important steps. And then we have to sort the eigenvalues and their corresponding eigenvectors, and we have to pick k eigenvalues. That means how many features we want. So those many eigenvalues we have to pick up, and then we have to transform the original using the picked up eigenvalues. So through several examples, we will walk through some examples and then we will discuss these steps one by one. That will be clear to you as we go through with the examples. So first let us see what is an eigenvector. Do you revised about the eigenvector and the eigenvalue concepts? Anybody? I can show one example for eigenvector. Okay, we can see one example of an eigenvector. The first case, this is a non-eigenvector. The second one is an eigenvector. For example, you have a 3, 3, 2 as a column vector, and it is multiplied by this 2, 3, 3, 1, and still we are able to separate the scalar value here and represent the vector here. So the scalar value the eigenvalue and 3, 2 represents the eigenvector. Okay. So now this eigenvector can once again be scaled, and even after scaling we can still separate the eigenvector separately and then the value separately. Okay. So any vector which can be scaled and then it can be still written in the original form, those vectors are called as the eigenvector, and this value, the scalar value, is a eigenvalue. Okay. So the eigenvector is a non-zero, and sometimes this eigenvalue can be 0, but the vector is non-zero. We will first discuss how to form this value, eigenvector, etc. through some examples. Then we will go to the steps of the PCA. So I think all of you know the characteristic equation. If I have a matrix A, we have to use determinant of A minus lambda I equal to 0 to do this. I will go to the steps here. Suppose if I have a matrix this, then we will write it as A minus lambda I equal to 0, and then in place of A, we will substitute this 7, 3, 3 minus 1 minus lambda into this identity matrix, and then we will subtract and write 7 minus lambda, 3 minus 0, 3 minus 0, and then minus 1 minus lambda will write equated to 0. This is like finding the determinant 7 minus lambda into minus 1 minus lambda minus 9. We will just cross multiply this and equate it to 0. We will be solving. So this is like a tree method. We will be solving and finding the roots. This is like a quadratic equation. You find the roots of this. These values of lambda are called as eigenvalues. Now we have to take these eigenvalues and substitute. We have to substitute in this equation. For in the place of lambda, first we will take 8 and substitute. So 7 minus 8 is minus 1, and 3 written as it is, this 3, then minus 8 is minus 9 into x1, x2 is equal to 0. And we have to solve this. So for solving this only, we will be using learn form or Gaussian elimination method. Hope you might have studied this earlier. So we will be solving this. So for here in this example, the row 2 is taken as row 2 plus 3 times row 1. So 3 minus 3 and minus 9 plus 3 into 3. So this gets cancelled. So you will have minus x1 plus 3x2 equal to 0. From this you derive x1 equal to 3x2, and then we write the eigenvectors as 3 and 1. Okay, fine. And then we have to find the unit eigenvector. So how do you find a unit vector? Suppose if I have A and B in my vector, then to find the unit vector, what we will do is divide A by square root of A square plus B square. That means divide by the length of the vector. Similarly, for B also we will do B divided by square root of A square plus B square. Okay. So that is how we find the unit vector, length of a vector in terms of, that means their length will be equal to 1. Okay. So unit eigenvector finding. So the, for 3 and 1, it is 3 divided by 3 square plus 1, that is root 10. Similarly, for 1, it is 1 by square root of 3 square plus 1, that is 10. Okay. Similarly, for lambda 2 equal to minus 2, we are finding the unit eigenvector. And then these are the unit eigenvectors. And these are the unit eigenvalues. So this is the procedure for finding eigenvectors, eigenvalues. So now we will start with the procedure for PCA. Some more exercises are given and one more example is given. This is for a 3 cross 3 matrix. So for a 3 cross 3 matrix, the procedure is slightly different. We will be using this shortcut method. Okay, you have to find the minor of the diagonal elements and then solve it. So I'm not going deep into this. You can go through this and you would have studied in your earlier numerical methods or in a linear algebra mathematics how to solve this. Okay, so this I leave it to you and you can take this as an exercise and try to solve it. So now we will go for the PCA method. So for, now there are 4 features given And for each feature, we have 5 rows. That means this is a 5 cross 4 matrix. Okay. So we have to find the principal components and then the newly transformed data with reduced number of columns. Okay. So the first step is, once again, the steps are repeated. The first step is standardizing the data set. So for standardizing the data set, minus mu by sigma. So here for all this F1, the mu is taken. Similarly, F2, F3, F4 mu is taken, and then the sigma is also taken for all the 4 features. So that is tabulated here, mu and sigma. Now for each of the features or each row, for each feature, we have to substitute the mu and sigma here. That means I have 1. Okay. So 1 minus 4 by 3. So 1 minus 4 by 3. Okay. And similarly, 5 minus 4 by 3, 1, likewise 5 minus 8 minus 4 by 3, likewise for every feature we have to do this. Okay. So after performing the standardizing the data set, what we need to do is we have to find the second step is to find the covariance matrix for the features. Okay. This is the standardized data set. So for this, we have to find the covariance matrix. Any doubts so far? No. Okay. Okay, now for these 5 cross 4 matrix, we have to find the covariance matrix, and for feature 1 with feature 1, it is called as variance, and for feature 1 with feature 2 or 3 and 4, we call it as covariance. So the formula for calculating covariance is given. Suppose from this 5 cross 4 matrix, if I am taking a smaller subset, then that is called sample. I have to use n minus 1. Suppose if I am using entire population, then I have to divide by n. I hope you know this. So basically, this covariance give a measure of how the tend to vary with reference to the with related to the other variable in the data set. Okay, something like a correlation. So using this formula, we have to find the covariance. So all the features are written here. Feature 1 and 1, it is variance. Feature 2 and 1, it is covariance. Similarly, feature 2 and 2, it is variance. Feature 2 and feature 3 is covariance between F2 and F3, so on and so forth. So we are going to use the standardized data set. So the mean for each feature is 0 because we have subtracted from the mean. That is the standardized data set has uh, uh, mean subtracted from the data. Okay, the mean is subtracted from the data. So the mean for each feature is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. That is why we have done, and PCA will not work without doing this first step. Except without doing this first step, PCA cannot be done. Okay. So that is done here. Maybe I can take for one example for variance and covariance. I can tell you how the features or how the values are calculated. So for F1, we have these values. We have to find the mean of this for minus 1.33, minus 1.33 and 1.33. So that will be minus 0.1 by 5. Okay, sorry, minus 0.01 by 5 you will get. And then that is the mu value. So that is nothing but to 10 power minus 3. And then now you take this value minus 1, this value minus this whole square divided by 5. Okay. Sorry, you have to take minus 1 minus this and whole square, you do it, and similarly for this minus this whole square, this value minus this whole square, everything you do, and then sum up all this, then finally you divide by 5, you will get the value for variance. Similarly, for covariance, what you have to do is in F1 and F2, find the mean of F1, that is minus 0.01 by 5. Similarly, the mean of F2 will be 0 because you have this minus 0.63 plus 0.63 will get cancelled, and 1.26 and minus 1.26 will get cancelled. So mean of F2 will be 0. But you will have to find the covariance, you will still have yi minus y bar is there. So in that case, you will have 0.63 minus 0, 1.26 minus 0, that will be there. So what you have to do is this minus 1 minus this 0.01 by 5 minus 2 this value. Similarly, this value, okay, xi minus x bar into this value. Similarly, this minus 1 minus this x bar into this value, that you have to do, and then sum up and divide by 5. This value minus 0.25298. Likewise, you have to do for all the features, and you can fill the table like this. Here the population formula is used. Now this is the A matrix. Now this is the A matrix. So for this A matrix, we have to use A minus lambda I equal to 0, and after performing the calculation, you will get the eigen values. You will get these 4 eigen values, and then these eigen values, if you substitute in that A matrix, you will be getting eigen vector like this. Okay, you will be getting eigen vectors like this. All right. So there are 4 features. There are 4 features, 4 cross 4 matrix. So when you solve it, you will have 4 eigen values, and then you will have 4 eigenvectors. This is eigenvector 1, eigenvector 2, eigenvector 3, eigenvector 4. Okay. And the next step is actually sort eigenvalues on their corresponding eigenvectors. So sorting means we have to do it in the descending order based on values 2.5, 1.06, 0.39 and 0.02. In this particular example, it is already in sorted manner, so we need not have to sort once again. Suppose if this is in a different order, then this has to be sorted in the descending order, and we have to pick up only the top eigen values which are more. So how to find which eigenvalue is contributing more, or the percentage of eigenvalue contribution is more? So that is a simple formula. All this together should contribute for 100%, right? So now I assume this is lambda 1, this is lambda 2, lambda 3 and lambda 4. So what we have to do is you take lambda 1 divided by lambda 1 plus lambda 2 plus lambda 3 plus lambda 4, etc. If you do and multiply by 100, you will get a percentage value. Okay, fine. So can you calculate that? So it is 2.15 plus 1.0652 plus 0.39388 plus 0.02 5 is 3.99. I can keep it as 4, and then 2.5157 divided by 4 is actually 0.8. This 2.515 divided by the sum of all the 4 lambda values is 3.99. I took it as 4. So when I divide this, it gives the values 0.6289. This, if I multiply by 100, it will give me 62.8%. Okay, 62.8% contribution of the feature values entirely comes from this particular lambda value. Similarly, I can find percentage, I can find percentage, I can find for all this, and then whichever is having lower values I can ignore, and I can take only the top 2 eigenvalues, and then the corresponding eigenvectors, the top 2 eigenvalues I will take, because the rest of them does not contribute much. Okay, suppose if I take the last one, it is 0.5 divided by 4 into 100. It is actually giving 0.625 only, that much percentage. It is less than 1%. So I don't require the last one and this eigenvector value. Okay. Here we have taken the top 2 eigenvectors, and now we have to transform the data, and actually these eigenvectors are actually the unit eigenvectors. Okay, this is actually the unit eigenvectors. So now what we do is, you take the matrix, the feature matrix is 5 cross 4, which is this 5 cross 4 matrix, the original matrix after performing the standardization. We have done x minus mu by sigma, isn't it? So that feature matrix we should take, and then we have to multiply with the 2 eigen vector. This is 5 cross 4 and this is 4 cross 2. So you will get a 5 cross 2 matrix. So now this is the transform data. So this data only will be used for performing classification. Okay. So now from 4 column data, we have obtained 2 column data, which is a transformed one. Okay. So these are the steps involved in obtaining a PCA, or the principal components. Now this is the principal component 1 and this is the principal component 2. Okay, so these elements represent the actual data. So if I plot these values, it will be like this. The other principal component values will be like this, perpendicular to each other. Because the eigen vectors are perpendicular to each other, so basically these feature elements are a scaled version of the eigenvector. Here I have shown the example. This is the eigenvector, and these features are actually being scaled. These features F1, F2, F3, F4 are now scaled by this eigen vector values, and we obtain this. So they also will be in the same principal component line. If I plot these, it will run both perpendicular to each other. I will show this in the next example also. So that's all with the first example. Now we will see one more example with 2 features. Any doubts so far?
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you explain the second step, ma'am? I didn't understand when it comes to covariance of F1, F2.
This step?
Yes, ma'am. Minus 0.25298.
Okay, this I will explain. Actually, the covariance formula I will show. It is xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar for every element. So there is a summation divided by 9. So what we have to do is, in now I assume this as x and this as y. Okay. Now let us assume this as x and this as y. For the y, the mean is 0 because the values gets cancelled each other. So when you calculate the mean, it is giving 0. Whereas if you calculate the mean, it is giving a value minus 0.01 by 5. That is actually minus 2 into 10 power minus 3. Okay, this value. All right. Now what we have to do is minus 1, that is the x1, minus 1 minus this value. Okay. Minus 0.01 by 5 into y1 is this, say this value I take, minus 0.6346 I take, and then minus 0, okay, because it's minus 0. This f1 mean is minus 0.01 by 5. So x1 minus this into y1 is this value minus 0 I am doing. Likewise, I will do for corresponding all this 0.333 minus this into 1.26 minus 0. Likewise, I do for all the 5 and then I get 5 values. Okay. So that 5 values I can read out, you can note it. 0.63119. It is 0.63119. And then 0.4, you can verify later, 0.4199. And then minus 0.63119. And next is 0, because you have a 0 here. You have a 0 here. So this into this minus x bar into 0 will give 0 only. And then the last value will be minus 1.68486. Okay. Now the sum of all this you divide by 5, it will give minus 0.53. Minus 2.53 or minus 0.2529 I got actually. Yeah, minus 0.2529 I got, same thing. Okay. If you calculate and see, you will get this.
Thank you.
You can just sum up all this and divide by 5, you get this value. Can you do it? 0.63119 plus 0.4199 minus 0.63119 minus 1.68486 divided by 5. It will give minus 0.253. You can calculate and check. Okay. So now we'll move on to the next example. I will quickly go through the next example also. It is the same procedure, only the data is different. So instead of 4 features, here there are only 2 features. The mean of x is 1.81, mean of y is this, standard deviation of this x and standard deviation of y. And then this is the standardized data set. The first step. That means 2.5 minus 1.81 divided by 0.74 is 0.926. Similarly, 2.4 minus 1.98 divided by 0.75 is this. Okay. Likewise, for all the data we have to do and keep. This is the standardized data set. And now x minus x bar. That means this one. for the standardized data set only. Now we are proceeding with the next columns. Now onwards, we don't require the original data. So x minus x bar is this, and y minus y bar, and x minus x bar into x minus x bar is this whole square, and y minus y bar square. So we will use this one for the column with the same, and then we will use this into this for covariance. Okay. So so what we are doing is we take these 10 rows and 2 columns, and then we will be finding the x minus x bar into y minus bar. So this into this for every element. Okay, for every element, this into this we will be doing, and then divide by 10. Similarly, only for diagonal you will have this element, so divide by 10, you will get this value. Once you just perform the summation and divide by 10, you will know the values. It will give the covariance values like this, covariance matrix. Okay, and now for this 2 cross 2, we find the eigenvectors and eigenvalues. So this is that. So the percentage, if you take, it is actually for eigenvector 1, it is 0.113. For eigenvector 2, the value is this. And what we have to do is, we have to find the percentage, how much each it is contributing. Okay, this is the eigenvalue. This is the eigenvalue. For these eigenvalues, once again you substitute in the A matrix. This is your A matrix. So in A minus lambda I only you and found the lambda 1 and lambda 2 as these values. Now once again you take the first value and substitute in the A, and then find the eigenvector, that is this one, and the unit eigenvector is this. This is 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2. That is, first one is minus 1 by root 2, second one is 1 by root 2. And similarly for 2.089, if you substitute in this, you will get the next eigenvector, and the unit eigenvector is this. Okay, so now out by looking at the value, you can find out this 2 is higher than 0.133. So you can also find the contribution. So 2.9 divided by 2.089 plus 0.133. So 2.089 divided by 2.2.2. So that gives 94%. Okay, this 2.89 divided by this plus this, it is 2.222, that is equal to 94%. Similarly, 0.133 divided by 2.222 will give 6%. Okay, so this has higher contribution. So we will go with, we sort it in descending order. So if I sort it in descending order, we can go with the first, we can go with the contribution of second eigenvector. So we can ignore the first eigenvector and we can take the second eigenvector. So we are taking the standardized data set and we multiply with the second eigenvector, you get the transform data. So now this is our reduced feature set. Okay. So how do we obtain this is actually, it is very simple. What we do is, you take these points 707, 0.707, you multiply this 707 with 1, 2, 3, x4, etc. You will get a line like this. Similarly, if you take this unit vector, unit eigenvector, you multiply with 0.1, you multiply with 1, 2, 3, etc. You will get another perpendicular line like this. So this is our principal component. and this is the principal component 2. Okay, and since we are going with the significant information is present only in this, we will go with this principal component values which are plotted here. Okay, and then one more, I will just finish this part, then I'll go back to the other slide. Suppose if you are having 10 principal components, as you go towards the last principal components, the between them becomes very small or insignificant. So we can ignore the other principal components and only the very major principal components we will take. Okay. Okay, so out of the 10 principal components, we can take 1, 2, 3, 4 only, because if you observe, this variance is actually reducing. Only variance is very high, it actually can contribute more to the classification. Okay, if the variance are very small, then the classification becomes very difficult. The accuracy will not be high. So the variance should be high. Only then the classification is it will achieve good. Okay, so the all principal components start at the origin of the coordinate axis, and the first principal component is the direction of maximum variations or maximum variance from the origin. Subsequent PCs are orthogonal to the first PC and describe the maximum residual variance. That means other PCs are perpendicular to the first one and they will have the variance. Okay. So that's all about the principal component analysis part. And since this is a since this is a very complex procedure, what I'm thinking is